So I've never had any pressure from my mother to
Mm-hmm.
have children, or my grandparents actually. Um, I'm past 40, so I think my mother's pretty much determined that's not happening, so she's okay. I adopted a dog, so she's like, "Oh, I guess this would be my grandchild." Um, in terms of relationships, that's usually the next conversation right after that. I don't want to get married because I'm not really interested in marriage as a concept. So usually very early on, even if I'm not sure if it's a serious relationship, that's usually a very early on conversation that I would have, because I don't really want to get very serious with someone and they have expectations that are not in alignment with mine. So it's usually like, yeah, I'm not really interested in getting married, and equally, I'm not having children. And that always follows with, "Are you sure?" And you might change your mind. I'm like, "Nope, pretty sure, not changing my mind." And
Right.
then I've had some situations where I got a lot of pressure from boyfriends where they were, accidentally but on purpose trying to get me pregnant, which
Oh my.
is not a good thing. Um,
No.
no, and situations where you feel like it's just a conversation that just keeps coming up all the time.
Right.
You sure you don't want to have
Mm-hmm.
babies? You sure you don't want to have children? You're such a good person with children. You'd be a wonderful mother. And you're like, yes, I am
Mm.
sure that's true, but that's I could be a doctor as well, but I decided to be a lawyer. I'm not really going to make a change like that.
Right.
And in terms of my friends, I always, well, the friends who really know me, they will ask me, and they'll ask me why I've come up with this position, and they'll say
Mm-hmm.
similar things, but it's not the same kind of pressure that you get from a
Right.
boyfriend. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the pressure is not even, it's just a kind of like oh, but we could be pregnant together kind of thing. I'd be like, no, that's not a good idea. We could travel together, and I think I would be an excellent auntie. Like, for all my friends who have children, they need
Mm-hmm.
someone to take care of the child when they go in and spending time with their husband or their friends or whatever. I can be the auntie. I'll take care of the kids for a couple of days. We,
Mm-hmm.
we, we think about the relationships we have with friends, and if all
Mm-hmm.
of us have babies,
Mm-hmm.
who's really going to be able to allow adult relationships to continue to thrive? If you
Mm.
always have to be spending time with the children, and you can never spend time with your husband or your partner because you have to be taking care of this other person. I think
Right.
it's important that sometimes you have someone that doesn't have children, and it can't always be the grandparents, because sometimes the grandparents aren't there. Sometimes they're not capable of taking care of your children because you might not have had a good relationship with them. Their relationship with your child, their grandchild, might not be a good relationship either. So it's I think there are all types of people in the world, and I will happily be the auntie to take care of all the babies. I have no problem with that, and I will give.
Nice. I will remember that the next time I visit
I know,
Barbados.
I know.
And Janice, what about you? How has it impacted relationships on your end? Oh,
So,
oh.
just to think a little bit about what my fellow co-panelists said about um, feeling the pressure and not feeling the pressure from parents, etc. I'm also lucky in that respect. I never got any pressure from my parents, and luckily I have sisters who have children, so that takes a lot of the pressure off. But
Yes.
there is this insistence of the question that people keep
Mm.
asking you, "You sure?" And yes, even
Mm-hmm.
very empowered feminists will say to me, "You don't need a husband, but that relationship with your child is so important. You sure you don't want to have it?" And people are genuinely asking that out of concern. And I think the reason the concern comes is that people feel like you have an unfulfilled life if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have that primary relationship with a child.
Yeah.
And I can see why people would say so, because as much as children, a lot of my very good friends, when you interrogate them, it's burdensome. And if they're honest with themselves, some of them say, "You know what, if I had a choice again, would I have a child? I'm not sure." But it adds meaning to your life, whether we
Right.
accept it or not, whether you accept that responsibility or not. There's a certain amount of meaning that children bring to your life. It gives you purpose in a way that other people can't expect you to have if you don't have that relationship with. But I find my life meaningful for other reasons, in other ways. And
Right.
I think
Yeah.
I would really like people to understand that meaning in your life is a personal thing and it comes from all these different influences. I find meaning in the work I do. I find meaning in the relationships I have with friends. I find meaning in the relationship I have with my parents. I have meaning with the relationships I have with strangers, with mentors and stuff. So I think this kaleidoscope view of a life worth living that is not just concentrated in one type of relationship with one type of offspring is it needs to be expanded. And I think we serve a very important role when we don't have that primary responsibility with a child, which is so all encompassing. We
Right.
then have time to develop other relationships. We can be good friends. We can be present. We, as Lani was saying, we can be there for you to support your children. And so I think I would really encourage people who force that choice on us to bring meaning that way, not to feel sorry for us, but to actually see it as just us seeing the world in many more different colors and shapes and kaleidoscopes than they probably think is possible by not having children. And so for me, I feel sometimes sorry for people who feel sorry for me because I'm like, having
I'm happy.
having said that, the nuance is also there. So yes, you can be with certain partners who make you want to be a mother. And there's something, and I'm going to get a little bit, personal. There is something about being with a partner that you really love and you want to be with, that you would love to have his child. And it doesn't make me less of a feminist. It doesn't make me. You see yourself, and you'd love to see what product the two of you can have, because
Yes.
it's a beautiful thing. Right. So there are some times when I wake up and I think, oh my God, I love this man and I would love to have his children. But other things come up, like, some women have science, medical reasons why they can't. Some women go through very difficult miscarriages, and so it's difficult for them. And so there's a whole other set of reasons why you can't have children or you choose not to have children. And so it doesn't mean because I have chosen up to this point not to have children, I don't also feel that kind of maternal instinct or partner instinct that sometimes is overwhelming as well. So again, it's much more nuanced than saying I've never wanted children. I feel like I can't have a meaningful life. It's much more beautifully complex than that.
Thank you, which is well said. Now, I am going to ask you guys to give me one pet peeve. So, we're going to do a pet peeve followed by advice you would give to your friends and family regarding discussions on motherhood and being a woman without a child. Like, just as brief as we can. So, let's start with you, Chantal.
A pet peeve, after you say I don't want children, don't come back with, are you sure?
Right.
You asked me, I'm sure. And asking me if I'm sure is not going to change my perspective on what I have really decided for myself, or don't you think you'll feel empty? No, as Jan perfectly described it, I'm fulfilled by so many other things. So to associate not having children with not having a fulfilling life, I absolutely can't stand and people do it all the time. When you get older, you don't want to pass on your legacy to somebody who is going to take care of you when you get my life is so many other things, and I have so many lovely people in it that I don't associate happiness with having a child. And my life, I'm really happy, and I don't have a child. So I hate when people associate, some kind of emptiness with not having children. And people listen almost daily. That's the association that people make, and I really don't like it.
Right. So is there another way you would prefer one of your friends or family, or maybe even a stranger, to approach? Should they even approach you with
don't.
that?
Yeah, that was going to be my, just don't. Unless sometimes it comes up in conversation, and you talk about it, and if you respect somebody's position. If I say I don't want children, all right, I don't ask you, so why did you have children? Or, why would you do something like that? I don't do that to you. So just don't bring it up if it's not a conversation piece. And don't make people feel badly for their own personal choices. Your choices are
Right.
yours. I don't ask you why you married that man. It's not my business. Even if I'm thinking it, I'm never going to say that. Right? And I think it often. I think, why did you get married to this man? You're complaining all the time. You know?
Right.
I don't say that to you. So, to be a bit more sensitive to people's, everybody's personal choices are going to be totally different. They're not going to be yours. And to say, make yourself an honest woman, or make yourself a
I've not heard that one before.
Listen, just don't bring it up. Don't unless somebody's talking about it, don't ask, don't impose your own views or socialization onto other people. That would be my advice.
All right. And Lani, pet peeve.
I think this one has got to be the worst. When someone sees you and just assumes that you're pregnant and asks if you're pregnant.
Oh God.
I cannot express to you how much I despise that question.
Yeah.
And I think it says a lot about my sensitivity of it and any potential weight gain, because I've had to again, some sharing here. I've had some challenges with my menstrual cycle and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the doctor's way of dealing with things is put you on hormones that end up causing you to gain weight and whatnot. And you sometimes gain weight in a way that it looks like as if you might be pregnant, because it's all around your midsection and whatnot. And I've had people come and say, "Oh my goodness, you're pregnant." I'm like, "No, I'm not pregnant." And they're like, "When are you gonna get pregnant?" And I'm like, "Not anytime soon." And if I was, I would not tell you.
Exactly. So, you dig in your hole.
No, it's unfortunate, because I was thinking about that in the context of the questions you had sent us and this general conversation. And I feel like on the one hand, people think that children are a blessing and a miracle and wonderful, so they get very excited and want to congratulate people who are going through that. And I have friends who are pregnant. My friend just recently had twin girls. And she said that, random people in the middle of COVID would come up and want to touch her stomach and stuff. And I was just like, even outside of COVID, none of that is appropriate. You don't go up to a random person and put your hand on them. No. So it's a kind of, it's almost like when they perceive that a woman is pregnant, that her body becomes property of everybody.
Yes.
So everybody can comment on it. Everybody can comment on it. Everybody can touch it. Everybody can do what they want with it. And that is huge. A friend of mine says that you should only ask a woman if she's pregnant if the baby is actually coming out of her. And even you shouldn't have been in the room to ask that question. So don't never ask a woman if she's pregnant. Never ask it.
I agree. I second that. Never ask. Because I myself, after having had my son, went into an H&M store, and the guy was just like, "Oh, when are you due?" This is after I had him. So I also felt horrible. So regardless, just pretend you don't see, right? Yeah. And Janice, your pet peeve.
You know what? To be honest with you, I don't really have one. I completely empathize with what Lani and Chantal said. I am much more sort of exploratory. So if you ask me, when are you going to have a child, or are you pregnant? I mean, I haven't gotten that one yet. Thank God. I would probably say, I don't know. Maybe it won't happen, and I'll more likely get into a conversation with you about it. And I would probably throw it at you. Are you enjoying having yours? I mean, so for me, it's a conversation starter. A lot of people, when they're honest about it, are not loving motherhood at all stages of it. I think for me, it's a conversation opener. I don't have a pet peeve. As I said, depending on where I was in my journey, there's times where it's been harder to deal with realities of maybe at being at a certain age in my 40s where I haven't had, and seeing other people with and wondering, how would my life have been more, have been different? Would I have been more fulfilled in this way or another? But it is such a journey. I'm happy where I am. I could have had children maybe and be happier, or I may not have. I would have been miserable. I don't know. So I take things as they are, and I see what the future has to hold. And nowadays, I was having a conversation with a very, very good friend of mine who is my age and has decided she'll stop trying to have children. And I heard about another friend in her 50s who had a surrogacy pregnancy. And so nowadays everything is possible, so it's
There are many options.
there's so many different options if you really, really want to have children. And if you don't need to have a biological one, you can adopt. So I think we again expand the possibilities and think of different ways of achieving that need, whatever it is, the maternal need. There are different ways of filling it. It may not look the way you want it to. This is the advice to young people.
Yes, I was just gonna say this was my next question. Go ahead, give us the advice.
And yeah, I mean, motherhood, and I think I would supplant with fulfilling lives. And yes, a lot of mothers I know are very fulfilled with their children. They're the things that make their faces light up when the child enters the room. That was an Oprah Winfrey quote. Like, does your child make your face light up when you enter a room? And most mothers I know, that's how they feel, and I'm really, really happy for them. But I think my fulfillment can come from so many different sources, from my partner, from my niece, my nephews, my sisters. And so for me, it's just a broader canvas, and we should expand our boundaries of what makes us fulfilled in life.
Yeah, thank you. And Chantal, if you just want to tell us, or speak to one of our listeners who is feeling pressured, a young woman feeling pressured to have a child for whatever reason and just doesn't have the desire to. And maybe it's her partner that's pressuring her, or maybe it's family. What's one piece of advice you would give?
Yeah, I would say, it's difficult to say don't feel pressured, because, if the pressure is there, it's going to affect you. But there are so many different ways to live your life, to be a woman. And I think Lani and Jan have, said it as well. There is no blueprint to how you're going to live your life. So don't feel pressured to live this particular mold. A family doesn't have to be a nuclear family. Your child doesn't have to be a biological child. And so there is no need to feel pressure. And if, things don't happen for you early in your life, or in your 20s, your 30s, you could get your eggs retrieved. You could do IVF if you're okay with I certainly don't. I think it's so invasive, and it seems to be so difficult, but there are options out there. There are people having children in their 40s now. Surrogacy, there are options. So even if you change your mind, it doesn't mean that motherhood door is going to be closed forever.
Right.
So you don't have to feel that pressure if you're in your 20s or your early 30s and you're thinking, that time is running out. There are other ways to become a mother. It doesn't have to follow one particular pathway. So I would say don't let the pressure affect you too badly.
Okay. Thank you. And Lani,
Yes,
let's round up with you.
Specifically to women who don't want to have children and are feeling pressured, I would ask them to think about why they're feeling the pressure and ask themselves, where is this pressure coming from? It's something you had alluded to earlier. If you felt like if you were letting down someone because you weren't going to become a mother, if that's what you're feeling and that's the reason, then you have to explore that. It's very easy for me, in the position I'm in and how I feel about how I am as a person and how I was raised, to be, no, I'm not going to feel pressured about this. You can't make me do something I don't want to do. But everybody's not like that. Everybody doesn't have that personality. Everybody doesn't have the back to take the assault and just be like, whatever, I'm not having children, so you can't make me. So right. If you're a person who's feeling the pressure and you don't want to buckle, you got to kind of look inside and find out why you're feeling that pressure, and then talk about that, because it might be some other unresolved issue that has nothing at all to do with becoming a mother, that if you address that, then perhaps you might be able to alleviate the pressure that you're feeling. So just to add on to what everyone else has said, I think if you look inside more and try to figure out, and you may be able to make yourself stronger and be able to withstand the pressure, because this is not the only kind of pressure that women get. We get all kinds of pressure, but this is, I think, a very common one that comes from many more sources than the other types of pressures that we might get. because it comes from your family, it comes from your friends, it comes from your partner and whatnot. And after a while, you know, I'm sure that there are many women I know that have had babies that didn't want to, but felt that they had to because that's what was expected of them. And if they didn't do that, their mother might have been disappointed, or the father might have been disappointed, or their partner might have left them or something. So, you know, you got to be able to be confident in yourself and be strong in yourself, and know that pressures will come from all sources. And sometimes you have to be able to figure out how to withstand them. So that's what I would say.
That's beautifully said. Thank you. It's just been such a pleasure chatting with all of you and hearing the different perspectives. I mean, we said this off air, but I'm going to say it on air. You know, the fact that all of you guys are lawyers, attorneys at law. I don't know, but but you know, just thank you so much for just sharing and being open with us. And I'll usually wrap up asking my guests to just choose a song that's representative of their journey. So in your case, Lani, you know, whatever you want to represent, whatever is representative of your journey, I just need a song that matches that. So
I feel
what comes to mind?
particularly,
I feel like it'll be a crop over song.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I think because of the pandemic, particularly, and the pressures that I felt in the last, I want to say, 5 years up to now, culminating with COVID. Like Voices song by any means is a really kind of popular choice for me now. It's a song that got me through a lot of last year. I'm sure if you gave me, like, I could talk about a lot more soca songs. Most of my choices would definitely be calypso, but by any means I think it's a pretty powerful song about like my growth and my journey and where I am right now, I think. So yeah, I choose that one. Nice.
And Chantal? Oh wait, hold on. I have you muted. 1 second.
That's a good one, Lani. I rated this as the second most difficult question of
it's a hard one.
I Googled empowerment songs for women. I'm like, nope. And I also settled on something soca type. Voice was one of them. Far from finished. I feel like my journey as a person, it's ongoing, and I actually used it in a mentorship session that I did with some young ladies. And I read the lyrics, and I'm like, yeah, this song speaks to me very much. But when you spoke about it being your journey as a woman, I'm going to go with Patrice Roberts' Real Woman. Yeah, it you know, a real woman means so many different things to so many different people. When I listened to that song, at first I didn't like the song. When it first came out, I was like, this song is some kind of pop empowerment, woman empowerment, not. But the lyrics speak to me. So
I need to pull up the lyrics and see.
Yeah.
I want to add this song. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lani.
I just thought of this one when you were talking. So Lil Rick has a song called "Can't Style Me," and I think actually that's probably more fitting in this conversation because, like, you know, I feel like with the whole kind of central theme we've been talking about is people kind of imposing what they think we should be doing as women. And Can't Style Me is basically like saying you can do whatever you want, but I'm just gonna live my life. I'm gonna enjoy myself. I'm gonna do what I want, and you can't make me into somebody that I'm not. So those two songs.
All right, great. Your turn.
Mine is actually I have to reconsider it, but in mine I plucked out in the context of my libertarian free lifestyle. Nelly Furtado, I'm Like a Bird. Because I'm like a bird, I'll only fly away. Which is actually it probably speaks to my non-committal self, which is, you know, I love the idea of me being a bird, colorful, flying, and not being caged. I mean, I'm in a really empowering relationship now, so I've stopped thinking about myself as trapped in a cage. But I love the metaphor of the bird because it just means, even if you're in a relationship or if you have children or whatever, the idea of flying, it doesn't have to be flying, but the idea of flying and being free and making choices because they're right for you and not trapped by what society tells you is convention or how you should act or who you should be, appeals to my libertarian self. So I'm like a bird, I'll only fly away. That's
I love that. I love that.
Nice song.
And you know what? Having just had this conversation with you, I think that is a perfect song for you, to be honest.
I don't know how I should take that, but I'll take it. Thank
No,
you.
I think it matches exactly what you discussed. Like, it is authentic to you because based on your views shared with us today, I think it just matches perfectly.
Thank you.
All of you. So,
What song would you choose, Chantal?
What would be yours, Chantal?
oh my gosh, nobody's ever turned this on me.
Yeah, the lawyers, of course, we turn it on you.
Oh my goodness. I will have to think about it. You know what? I will have to think about it some more because I believe I had a song when I first started this podcast, but so much has changed in my life, and you know, like Chantal says, I'm evolving, so I need to think of a song, and I will come back maybe in the next episode. Or maybe I'll plug it in at the end of this and let you know what I decided. So, but thank you. And of course, I should have expected the lawyers to come at me. Yeah. But thank you, ladies. It has just been a pleasure. And I really could not have asked for a better team of panelists to be here on the very first panel discussion on Caribbean bird stories. And I really hope our audience, they garner some piece of gold from our conversation that they can share with others and also just help themselves. So thank you, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. And thanks for having us. Lovely to meet you, lovely lady.
Yes. And you know, you guys should connect. I mean, Lani and you know, Janiola in Barbados and well, Chantal, whenever we get to leave and go.
Carnival.
And Carnival. I mean, whenever that happens again, because it's not happening next year.
No,
don't worry. I'll cut all of this out. Don't worry, guys.
It's fine. You can put it. I don't mind.
It was lovely.
Yeah, no, we don't know when Carnival is happening. Probably 2023.